Coming up on this week's edition of NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
Are you ready to go to the 2019 Cattle Industry Convention and NCBA Trade Show? We'll preview some of the great experiences New Orleans has to offer for cattle producers and their families.
Now, from the Denver headquarters of the National Cattlemen's Beef Association, it's NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
Hello and welcome to a special edition of NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen. I'm Kevin Ochsner. This time around, we're giving you a preview of the 2019 Cattle Industry Convention and NCBA Trade Show that will take place in the Crescent City, New Orleans, Louisiana. This is the oldest and largest national convention for the cattle business, and 2019 will mark the 122nd annual convention. Thousands of cattlemen and women will be on hand for 3.5 days of education, fellowship, networking, business, and a whole lot of fun. We begin with Cattlemen to Cattlemen reporter Russell Nemitz, who has an overview of some of the unique experiences the city of New Orleans has to offer.
New Orleans is one of the country's most unique and historic cities and has long been a top travel destination. The Crescent City, located alongside the mighty Mississippi River, turned 300 years old in 2018. And what better way to build on that celebration than by welcoming thousands of cattle producers from all across the country.
Well, first of all, I just want to say welcome to New Orleans from every chef, musician, street performer, and hospitality worker. We want to welcome you with open arms to the city. The city has a unique vibe, as many people say.
We're always looking for an excuse to throw a party, and this year we're so happy to have our tricentennial birthday. The city of New Orleans turning 300. Everybody's very fired up right now.
There's a melding pot of cultures, from French Caribbean to Spanish, and the Germans came in the late 1800s as well to help build our ports. New Orleans is the 5th largest port in the country. Many people don't realize some little tidbits of trivia that the majority of sweet potatoes come from the state of Louisiana, going out through the port. 70% of the coffee that comes in through the United States comes through our port.
From history to architecture to food and entertainment, you'll find plenty to do in New Orleans. In fact, choosing what to do might be the toughest part. The good news is there are many ways to take it all in.
Transportation in our city is very fluid. Our city, quite honestly, is a walkable city. From the convention center to our furthest hotel is roughly about 1.5 miles. So people can walk around the city without having the need for a rental car or for taxi cabs. But if they so deem fit, they can take a taxi, they can Uber or Lyft throughout the city, take one of our many petty cabs, or the double-decker on-off buses travel throughout the city to explore.
We own a bus fleet of over 80 buses. We do a lot of transfers for the big conventions coming in. It's a great way to see a city because it stops off at all the major attractions. And you can get off and spend as much time as you like, and there's another bus at that particular stop coming every 15 or 20 minutes. But while you're traveling to each major attraction, there's a narrator up on the top, and they're giving you the history of all these landmarks that you're passing.
You know, quite honestly, there are so many things to do and see in the city, it's really hard to give a top 5. There are many free and clear things to do throughout the city. The streetcar, I say, is one of the cheapest tours you can do throughout the city. For $3 in a day, you can go through the Garden District, the French Quarter, our uptown area, and to go to City Park and experience some great features of the city.
Go get some beignets at Cafe du Mont. Definitely take our dinner jazz cruise here on the Creole Queen paddle wheeler. And I would highly suggest Commander's Palace, greatest restaurant in the city.
With so much to see and do in New Orleans, the 2019 Cattle Industry Convention and NCBA Trade Show will no doubt be a huge draw for cattlemen and women from across the country.
I'm really excited about the 2019 Cattle Industry Convention and NCBA Trade Show, and it's very important that we get as many producers and fellow cattlemen to come down to New Orleans and see what's going on. We're going to have the biggest and best trade show ever in New Orleans, as well as we're going to conduct all our meetings for our policy and checkoff side of things. And I really expect attendance to break all records for New Orleans. And so come on down and be a part of the cattle industry. My impression of New Orleans is just terrific. I've been to New Orleans in prior meetings, and I love coming here. I mean, I never run out of things to do. There's things to see. And particularly for me, I'm going to go see the World War II National Museum here coming up in a few hours. I'm looking forward to that.
From the World War II Museum to the waterfront to Bourbon Street and more, no matter where you go in New Orleans, one thing you'll always find is a warm welcome.
There's a saying that Southern charm lives in the Gulf South. In New Orleans, it is a part of the culture. It's part of the people that live here, where you'll experience it not only in the restaurants or in the hotels, but all throughout the city. I'll tell you this, we would like to invite everybody to come to our city. New Orleans is a cultural icon in the Gulf South. We'd like to welcome you with open arms to our city and invite you to come.
You got to go to Cattlemen's convention. Great food, great hospitality. Every nightlife is unbelievable, and there's always something to do. But it's a memorable city that people will never forget, and they'll have a joyous time here.
Come on, people. Bring your cowboy hats and your boots and let's kick it.
From the Big Easy, I'm Russell Nimitz for NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
And joining us now with more on the convention is Thad Larson, Senior Director of Meeting and Events. You know, Thad, folks may not realize just how important this convention is to the overall beef industry. Talk to us about some of the business that goes on during convention.
Yeah, thanks, Kevin. There's lots of stuff that happens throughout the course of the convention. Lots of fun, lots of activities, and of course, there's also a huge portion of our governance business that happens at this meeting. All kinds of committee meetings, both on the policy side of things and the checkoff side of things, and so there's lots of decisions that are being made at this convention. Lots of opportunities for producers to be involved and have their voice heard in our policy and governance process.
You bet. And the trade show is always such a big attraction to folks. Tell us how this year's trade show is shaping up.
This year's trade show is going to be one of the biggest and best we've ever had. Acres upon acres of exhibit booths, all with solutions and products and answers that cattle producers are going to be looking for the coming year. And it'll be a fantastic way for them to find some tools and assets that they can use in their everyday business.
It really is an amazing event with anything that a cattleman or woman would ever want, that's for sure. And you always do such a nice job pulling together a list of speakers that are phenomenal. Give us just a little highlight of what you've got in store for us this year.
Yeah, for opening general session, we've got Hall of Fame quarterback and Pittsburgh Steeler great Terry Bradshaw. He'll be joining us for our opening general session. And then General Session 2 is always going to be our Cattle Facts Outlook session, where they provide some unique insights for the coming year. And in our closing general session is a gentleman by the name of John Ondrasik, and he's got an interesting story to tell on business and life in the music industry. He's a musician, so he'll be a fantastic speaker for us.
I have heard Terry Bradshaw speak before, and he is quite a highlight for sure.
Yep,
it's not just about education and motivation. You also have a little entertainment planned for us, particularly in the evenings. Give us a rundown on that.
Yeah, we do. Thursday night, we're going to be taking all of our folks over to Mardi Gras World, which is right next to the convention center. That's where they produce and manufacture all the floats for Mardi Gras, and so that'll be a fun evening. And then the Friday night event is going to be headlined by Big and Rich.
Yeah.
And so they'll put on quite a show for us, I'm sure.
That'll be a lot of fun. And tell me this, you talk to a lot of producers. What do they tell you about the actual value of attending this event?
You know, there's lots of value in attending convention, most of which it's value that they can't replicate anywhere else by going to any other shows, by participating in any other events in the cattle industry. This is the one event that they sort of mark on their calendars and plan for the whole year through. And so there's tremendous value there, both from them being able to experience what goes on at convention, as well as being able to network and have opportunities to be part of the dialogue that goes on at the convention itself. And so it's a great value, great opportunity for all cattle producers.
So speaking of that, one of the questions I received often is, Do folks have to be NCBA members in order to attend the Cattle Industry Convention? And secondly, where do you point them if they want to sign up and register today?
So you don't have to be an NCBA member to attend the Cattle Industry Convention. We've got all kinds of registration pricing options for those who are members and those who are not. Of course, we encourage you to become an NCBA member, and we provide some discounts on membership if you become a member during the registration process. But you don't have to be. And if people are looking for information on the convention, on registration, on any other part of convention, the best place for you to go is visit our website, ncba.org, and that'll give you all kinds of great information on the convention itself and what's happening. So,
thank you so much for coming. We're looking forward to a great week in New Orleans.
Yeah, we are too.
Thad mentioned many excellent reasons to attend the Cattle Industry Convention and NCBA Trade Show, and it's not too late for you to make plans to attend. It doesn't matter if you're a first-timer or a long-time convention attendee. We want to see you in New Orleans. You can find out all the details and get registered at the website ncba.org. Still ahead on Cattlemen to Cattlemen, we'll show you where to go for a great steak while you're at convention. Plus, a look at some fun places you may want to visit around New Orleans. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Let's go to New Orleans and the 2019 Cattle Industry Convention and NCBA Trade Show. It's the cattle industry's biggest convention for the first time ever in Cajun country, the Big Easy, a place filled with fun, food, and incredible sights. And you can't afford to miss the huge NCBA Trade Show.
Oh, this trade show is fantastic. I mean, it's so much fun to come down here.
There's no better place for cattlemen and women to learn, have fun, and connect with fellow producers from across the country.
Networking, see the people. I mean, you learn a lot here.
Amazing speakers, unbeatable education, all for cattle producers in the Big Easy. So plan now to go to New Orleans for the 2019 Cattle Industry Convention and NCBA Trade Show, January 30th through February 1st. Visit ncba.org for more.
Say goodbye to your toughest pasture and rangeland weeds for good. Because one product offers season-long control, handles the widest spectrum of broadleaf weeds, and clears the way for increased forage with greater grazing flexibility. So you get more beef per acre at a cost that can't be beat. It's Grazon Next HL herbicide, and if it's in your pastures, plain and simple, weeds won't be.
Welcome back. We're focusing today on New Orleans and the plans for the 2019 Cattle Industry Convention and NCBA Trade Show. Now, after all your meetings are done for the day and you've walked the trade show floor, you might be in the mood for a good steak. Cattlemen to Cattlemen reporter Brad Bulla has a preview of some outstanding steakhouses that are definitely worth a visit.
New Orleans is famous for its Cajun and Creole cuisines, but there are also plenty of great steakhouses in the Big Easy. From old school traditional to French Quarter fancy, there's something for everyone.
Charlie's Steakhouse is the oldest steakhouse in New Orleans. It's the 7th oldest restaurant in New Orleans as well. It's been around for a lot of years. We've seen generations of customers come here through the doors telling stories. We are the originators of the sizzling steak platter. Back in 1932 when Charlie Petrosi opened the place.
Our owners are Israeli. They had a restaurant in Israel and they stayed overnight in New Orleans and fell in love with the city and bought a restaurant in the French Quarter. And Doris Metropolitan was born. The French Quarter's kind of really embraced us, so it's been amazing. Almost entirety of our menu is our dry aged beef program. We bring everything in wet aged and we do the entire dry aging process ourselves in-house, which is pretty unique to New Orleans.
As a restaurant, we have to service everyone's needs, and everyone has its different flavors and what they like. We have the prime cuts, of course, the ribeye, the strip loin, the fillets, different sizes, of course, and the T-bone, which we prefer over the porterhouse. It was my selection. They're big, beautiful pieces of meat, 16 ounces in size. We caramelize it in a broiler, so it cooks real fast with nice color, and then we finish it with a little Meunier butter, which makes everyone happy. Meunier is nutty flavored with a little bit of acidity. It cuts the fat.
One thing is certain, all the best steakhouses in New Orleans are passionate and discerning about the beef they serve.
The steakhouse has been around since I was about half my size, real young. I started working in the kitchens when I was around 8th grade. But the steakhouse itself has always been focused on beef and using the cattle of the finest quality that we can get with a good relationship with our farmers. I think that our role primarily is to respect the beef at the beginning and to the end. So our job is to have from a rancher well-raised, happy cattle that we can take in a respectful manner and serve it to the people in the best possible ways.
Beef is important to me. When I started researching it, I wanted to make sure that we offer something special. More importantly than that, I wanted to make sure that the product came from an area that was loved. So what we did to source out the best beef we could is basically find out the purveyors that cared about the product. We don't just source out just for price point, we source out products.
What we're looking for is kind of the best possible quality and marbling that we can find. We source mainly from 4 different states: Texas, Wisconsin, Idaho, Iowa. It's a combination of grass and grain fed, but we're looking for really beautifully marbled steaks at just the best quality we can find them.
Although each of these restaurants offers different environments, different beef cuts, and a variety of cooking styles, one thing they all have in common is an appreciation for the work of the farmers and ranchers who produce beef.
Cattlemen are the important part of our business because that's all we serve. That's what they come to Charlie's Steakhouse for. We want everybody to enjoy a great steak.
I think a goal of mine and for us is for me to reach out more to the farmers and the cattlemen, and for us to work on our relationship with me getting out there and talking with them directly about what we want to achieve in the restaurant and see on our grills.
Keep doing what you're doing. We love working with meat. The amount of care and time that people put into these products is really astounding, and we love working with it.
I think the producers need to just keep following their passions. And if they follow their true passion for why they're in the industry, then we're going to see the better product show. And that's with anything we do. So just keep up the love of the product. I've fallen in love with beef, and I truly do, because I see where it's coming from, I see what it takes to create, and I see the love.
On the trail to find even more great steaks in New Orleans, I'm Brad Buller reporting for NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
If you're in the mood for good food and great history, there are plenty of places you should go in New Orleans for a unique experience. Matt Fleck has more on one area that offers plenty to see and do.
Just outside the hustle and bustle of the French Quarter is one of the most charming neighborhoods in New Orleans. Known for historic mansions and tree-lined streets, a walking tour of the Garden District is a must-do for visitors.
The Garden District used to be the Liverdays plantation, and when they divided up in the grid, they made blocks very large, only 4 lots per block, and each lot was big enough to have a carriage house, a service building, and a big house. And it's called the Garden District because, unlike the Creoles, the Americans pushed their houses back and put a garden in the front. You really don't have to see the magnificence of the houses till you're inside. And that, by the way, is a small house compared to a lot of these other ones. But a lot of these houses have very great deal of detail and a lot of history associated with it.
And besides the historic homes, one of the most unforgettable stops on the walking tour is Lafayette Cemetery No. 1.
And everybody's curious about the cemeteries. Why is it we bury above ground? Well, we bury above ground for 3 reasons. We have a high water table here. If you dig down a couple feet, it starts to fill in with water. Not conducive to burying somebody. The second reason is cultural. If you go to Barcelona, you go to Paris, you see tombs like we have here, and they buried above ground because they had a lot of disease. They were afraid if to put the body in the ground, it might contaminate the groundwater. And the third reason, it's an efficient use of land. We didn't have land here, we had a lot of swamp. Now, Lafayette Cemetery over there is 1 block, and a small block at that. There's over 10,000 people in that cemetery.
Directly across the street from Lafayette Cemetery No. 1 is another New Orleans landmark that has been serving up Cajun and Creole cuisine for over 100 years.
We're celebrating our 125th birthday this year in conjunction with the 300th birthday of New Orleans. A very special year for us. The food in New Orleans is just so different. Really for us, it starts out with great seasoning, right? So it's flavors like onions, cayenne pepper, fresh paprika, ground black pepper, good sea salt. That's kind of what really sets us apart. So it's big, bold, in-your-face kind of flavors, and that's the way we like it here in New Orleans. Turtle soup here in New Orleans is a very iconic dish, and I feel like us at Commander's Palace, we almost do it better than anybody else. It takes us 3 days to make every single batch. We get our turtles from all over the eastern part of the United States. We use more turtle than anybody else in the United States. We go through about 5,000 pounds a year.
Commander's Palace offers many other outstanding options for those not wanting turtle soup, and that includes plenty of beef on their menu.
We use several different cuts of beef here. Certainly filet mignon is one of our house favorites, but we use ribeye, we use strips, anything like that. We take ours, we rub it down with Creole seasoning. Again, that spicy, rich, salty, spicy flavor. That, we char grill it, and we go through a ton. On a busy night, we'll probably sell 200 fillets and a couple hundred strips. We produce some of the best food in New Orleans and the United States, and every single detail is important. You know, the diner these days is a heck of a lot more savvy than they were, just several years ago, and everything's important. Commander's is it's a famous and iconic restaurant, and people have very high expectations. So having fantastic products like beef on the menu is wildly important. I'm so glad y'all are coming to town. New Orleans is absolutely on fire right now. There's so many great things to do, and we're certainly proud to see it here at Commander's Palace.
A world-class restaurant in a historic setting makes Commander's Palace a top choice for dining at the 2019 Cattle Industry Convention. I'm Matt Fleck, reporting from the Big Easy for NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
There will be some can't-miss speakers as part of the 2019 Cattle Industry Convention and NCBA Trade Show. For example, NFL Hall of Famer Terry Bradshaw will be the keynote speaker at the opening general session on Wednesday. You'll want to hear the life lessons the former Pittsburgh Steeler has to share about his interesting and successful career. Your convention registration includes admission to this and all the guest speakers. You can get all the details at ncba.org. Still to come on Cattlemen to Cattlemen, we'll take you inside New Orleans' famous World War II museum. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
The 2019 Cattle Industry Convention and NCBA Trade Show is set for the Big Easy, New Orleans, Louisiana. It's the cattle industry's biggest convention with education, networking, and fun. Plus, you can check out the huge NCBA Trade Show, outstanding entertainment, and much more. So let's go to New Orleans for the 2019 Cattle Industry Convention and NCBA Trade Show, January 30th through February 1st. Details at ncba.org.
Welcome back. We're looking ahead to the 2019 Cattle Industry Convention and NCBA Trade Show that will bring thousands of cattlemen and women and their families to New Orleans, Louisiana. Besides the fun, the business, and the networking of the convention itself, New Orleans has many places to go for art, history, and culture. Cattlemen to Cattlemen reporter Brian Baxter has a look at a museum that tells the story of the war that changed the world.
Just about a 6-block walk from the New Orleans Convention Center, you'll find the #1 tourist destination in the city, the National World War II Museum.
Our mission is to tell why the war was fought, how the war was fought, and what it means today. So the building that we're standing in right now, our Louisiana Pavilion, really tells the story of why the war was fought. We have an exhibit called The Arsenal of Democracy that talks about the rise of fascism, the rise of the Axis powers, talks about the huge debate that was going on in the United States about whether we should get involved or not. But then, of course, Pearl Harbor happens and everybody was in it together.
This is a place that brings history to life. In 2004, Congress designated this as the official National World War II Museum. And ever since, one of the most common questions has been, why New Orleans?
There's two major reasons why the museum is here in New Orleans. The first is because Higgins Industries was here. And many people don't know what Higgins Industries was, but they've seen the iconic landing craft. When the guys came ashore on D-Day, those boats that with the front ramp dropping down was called the Higgins boat. And every landing, whether it was in the Pacific or in the Atlantic, came out of those boats, and all 22,000 of them were made right here in New Orleans by Higgins Industries. The other reason is because our founders, Stephen Ambrose, who's well known as the author of Band of Brothers, among a number of other books, and Dr. Nick Mueller were both professors here at the University of New Orleans.
Today, the museum stretches across a 6-acre campus. There are 5 pavilions that offer detailed exhibits, multimedia experiences, and thousands of personal accounts of World War II and the people who lived through it.
World War II, we always say it was the war that changed the world, and it truly was. That 5-year period for the United States in the first half of the 20th century is one of those few times where you can see that history took a right turn. Everything changed because of what happened. It becomes abstract the more time that goes on, and the more you learn about it just through books or something like that. But being able to actually learn about the war from the veterans themselves has been very important to this museum from the very beginning. So as you go through our exhibits, you'll see oral histories with incorporated in where the veterans actually telling their own story. And we have over 9,500 oral histories that we use as the center points of our educational programming. So even sadly, once the World War II generation is gone, their history will live on here, and we'll be able to still teach people in as first person a method as we can. We also have an exhibit talking about how we became the arsenal of democracy, how American industrial power, to include our beef producers, not only kept the war effort of the United States going, but also our allies. So that's this building, talks about why the war was fought. But then you move on into our Campaigns of Courage pavilion, and that's the how the war was fought pavilion. On the second floor, we have what's called the Road to Tokyo exhibit that tells all about the Pacific War. And then on the first floor, we have the European War told through the Road to Berlin exhibit.
Tours of the museum are self-guided, so you can follow whatever path interests you the most. One key to the museum's success is its volunteer program, which includes a number of World War II veterans.
One of the really neat things is that on a daily basis, right by the front entrance, we have a table where we always have at least 1 or 2 World War II veterans. And I particularly like to see the school groups with them, because seeing young kids learning about World War II from somebody who actually participated is something special. But at the same time, you can also see that the veterans love it too.
Ann Crane says those at the museum are eager to share the detailed history of World War II with the cattlemen and women who will be visiting during the 2019 Cattle Industry Convention.
We're really happy to have your group here, not only in New Orleans, but here at the World War II Museum, because they actually have a history tied directly to the war. Beef production in the war was huge. As a matter of fact, in 1942, the demand was such that we even had to import from other countries. And that was at the same time that many of the same men that were working to raise the cattle and bring everything to market were also joining the military in droves. It's been a patriotic organization from the very beginning, and the service records of those soldiers who had been the ranchers prior to, it's telling, and it's part of the American story. And that's part of what we try to tell here. Then the other thing I really like is younger audience, younger guests that walk on out and say, I had no idea about that we did all of this in World War II, and that I feel better about our country because of their visit here. And that tells us that we're actually making a difference in their lives.
The National World War II Museum is open from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. daily, and it truly is an experience and destination you don't want to miss. In New Orleans, I'm Brian Baxter for NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
One of the can't-miss events at every cattle industry convention is the CattleFacts Outlook Seminar. A full house is always on hand to hear what the experts think about the factors driving the cattle markets. Get all the details and register for the convention at the website ncba.org. Still ahead on NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen, we'll hear about some of the valuable education opportunities available at the Cattle Industry Convention and NCBA Trade Show. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hey folks, I'm Bobby Hebert of Cajun Cannon from the New Orleans Saints. Come on down to the Big Easy for the 2019 Cattle Industry Convention and NCBA Trade Show. It'll be the biggest and the best you've ever seen. There'll be great food, fun, and outstanding music from country music duo Big and Rich. So join me and let's go to New Orleans January the 30th to February the 1st. Find out more at beefusa.org.
No matter what job I've got to do, my John Deere 5E tractor can do it all. Whether I'm cutting, moving feed, or building a fence. Using my 5E means my work gets done faster at a price I can afford, and that works for me.
If you're connected with the beef cattle business, then you should like the NCBA page on Facebook. The NCBA Facebook page shares photos, news, and valuable information about the beef cattle industry. You can also follow the NCBA Twitter feed at BeefUSA. So stay in touch with NCBA on Facebook and Twitter.
New Orleans is not only home to the 2019 Cattle Industry Convention and NCBA Trade Show, it will also play host to the 26th Annual Cattlemen's College on the Tuesday of Convention Week. And joining us now to talk about that is Josh White. He's the Executive Director of Producer Education at NCBA. Josh, tell us to begin with, how do you begin selecting speakers for this great educational opportunity?
Well, we've actually changed up our process over the years. We've always had a group, that's sort of informal that we reach out to and ask, will you help us sort through some ideas, concepts, topics, and then speakers. And traditionally, we've done that with, regional state executives and extension and land-grant university folks, as well as some of our sponsors that help with Cattlemen's College. And so we've broadened that out a little bit further to a larger group. We've also done a request for proposal this past year for the first time to let more people submit ideas. And so we sort through that, see how many rooms and topics we need to cover and how that fits. And then if we need to go out and solicit other speakers, we can do that as well.
Fantastic. And my question would be, is it only focused on the cow-calf sector, or is there something for all segments of the industry involved in Cattlemen's College?
Sure. We definitely look at the region of the country we're going in and try to develop regionally relevant content. So, for New Orleans, it'll definitely be skewed maybe a little more toward cow-calf and grass stocker type operations, but we still, keep stuff in there about rumen health and veterinary care and other things that would appeal to a feed yard or more of a dry lot backgrounder as well.
So tell us a little bit more. Can you give us some highlights of some of the sessions and speakers that will be presenting this year?
Well, how much time do we have? Because this is the largest. This is the largest Cattlemen's College that I've been a part of helping develop. We have 8 different rooms and, of course, 3 sessions per room. Wow. So that's 24 different options that morning. We also did again this year our Producer's Choice program where folks could vote earlier this fall through social media on topics that they found the most relevant from our list of possible topics and speakers. Wow. So we'll be repeating 3 of those sessions on Tuesday afternoon as well as Wednesday. So essentially the most popular topics are repeated 3 or 4 times so folks can have plenty of opportunity to see those.
And even if people aren't able to make it in time for Cattlemen's College, there are a lot of producer education opportunities throughout the week. Tell us about some of those.
Sure. And well, I guess also Cattlemen's College, you know, if you pay for the attendance or if you don't, there are options to pay for the recordings of the sessions. So if you come in and attend, you get a link to all the recorded sessions after the event.
That's great.
So you won't miss anything. Right. And then if you don't attend at all and there's just one session that hits your fancy, you weren't able to get to convention, you can go back and watch those. You know, about a month after convention, we release those, and it's pay to play to watch those. But as far as other content throughout the week, I mean, gosh, you know, the general session speakers are always great, and you can learn a lot from those. We also have a lot of opportunities in the trade show. We have a demonstration arena with cattle handling and you know, horseback and various different training opportunities related to BQA and stockmanship there. We also have a BQA producer forum every year that's open to anyone, where you can hear a nice update on the BQA program and provide input, things you think we need to be considering there. Obviously that's geared more toward that checkoff funded program, but it's still something that producers really like to engage in. So those are a couple of good examples.
Outstanding examples, yeah. And so what do producers tell you about just the overall value of attending convention, Josh?
Well, one of the things I didn't mention when we are selecting programming and speakers for the next year, we look at feedback from those surveys from the previous year or two and see, you know, what are producers telling us back after the event that they want to hear more about. So that definitely goes into our selection process. But, you know, within that survey, we get a lot of great feedback about, you know, just a lot of positive comments about the quality of the education, what they've learned, what they're willing to take back, and a lot of people grateful for the ability to go back and watch those recorded sessions. Yeah. There's a lot of value there. So we just continue to increase the opportunity for folks to engage and to hear, you know, from each of those speakers as much as we possibly can.
It is an absolute excellent program, and I commend you and the rest of your team for just continuing to outdo yourself each and every year in terms of quality programming.
Well, we try.
Thank you,
We'll
Josh.
keep at it.
Cattlemen's College alone probably makes it worth your time to head to New Orleans. The information and education available there is second to none, and you'll go home with new insights that just might change your cattle business for the better in 2019. Reserve your space in Cattlemen's College and register now for the Cattle Industry Convention itself at the website ncba.org. Still ahead, we'll check in with the cowboy poet Baxter Black. And next, we'll have some ideas for after-hours fun at convention. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
When it comes to the beef business, there's no room for gray area. The decisions being made in Washington affect the future of the beef industry, the livelihood of your fellow farmers and ranchers. Your National Cattlemen's Beef Association knows there's what benefits cattlemen and there's what doesn't. To us, it's as clear as black and white. Visit joinncba.org to learn more.
When the field is your office, you never get tired of going to work. Cut, rake, bale, repeat. New Holland offers the power and versatility to get through the day. From small squares to large squares and everything in between, New Holland has you covered. Visit your local dealer today to find out more. New Holland, equipped for a new world.
Coming to you somewhere from the Dusty Trail, ladies and gentlemen, you are now part of the Working Ranch Nation. Working Ranch Magazine. Subscribe today at workingranchmag.com. Over 140,000 followers on Facebook. Listen to us every week on the Working Ranch Radio Show. Come join us, y'all. The 2019 NCBA Convention and Trade Show in New Orleans, Louisiana.
We've already told you about some of the great things to see and do during the day at the Cattle Industry Convention and NCBA Trade Show, but what about after-hours entertainment? Don't worry, New Orleans is a city that likes to stay up late. Cattleman to Cattleman reporter Lane Nordland has a look at some of the options for late-night fun.
called the crown jewel of New Orleans. The French Quarter is the heartbeat of the city. Famous for its colorful buildings, music, and clubs, the French Quarter is a one-of-a-kind experience.
It's a 10 by 9 block grid that the French laid out. In the center of the city is Jackson Square, the cathedral, St. Louis Cathedral, and it's flanked by our state museums. In the origination of Jackson Square, it was our seat of American government. The military would do exercises there and such. As the years went on, there were developments around Jackson Square, and it became also a development area for local artisans and musicians to show their wares and play their music.
When you go in the French Quarter, you just follow your ear because there's music playing at every second or third lounge, and there's so many good musicians down here. You're not going to hear a bad band. It's just all good music, and it's an abundance of it. You can go at any night and hear some great jazz.
Whether you stay on Bourbon Street, wander down Frenchman Street, or into Jackson Square, there's plenty of fun to be had in the French Quarter.
The Bourbon Street Adventure, I would say for all of your attendees, please explore the city, explore its rich history and culture, but also enjoy Bourbon Street and the French Quarter. There are many different aspects of the French Quarter, from antique shopping to walking on the street with your go cup of beer or wine or bourbon for that matter. It is a great city to enjoy, really a wonderful experience.
Bourbon Street is a non-stop party. For 300 years, it's been a non-stop party. You've got live music, country music, New Orleans music, cover music, any kind of music you want to see.
Well, your experience here on Bourbon, you get a mixture of music. For one, we do have a lot of country music. So you got from boot scoot boogie to any type of song that you would probably hear on the radio, you hear it on Bourbon Street.
If you really want to hear music and you want to hear some New Orleans stuff and you want to hear the locals, Frenchman Street has become that, and it's slowly, gradually gotten bigger and bigger over the years, and I love it. I love it. But the Spotted Cat itself, they've always had a good variety of like singer-songwriter, and then a blues band, and then a traditional jazz band, a funk band, soul, but it's all kind of roots stuff. It all makes you feel like you're in New Orleans. You know, when people come in here and there's no frills, it's not really your fancy, no tables or anything. It's just music and drinks.
No doubt you'll find an abundance of great live music at nearly every stop in the French Quarter, and you can even have some fun and test your bull riding skills at a popular Bourbon Street hangout.
Cowboys will love the Bourbon Cowboy. Cold beer, mechanical bull riding, and bead tossing from the balcony, so everybody can have that quintessential New Orleans experience.
For those that love to ride, especially cowboys, you have to experience the mechanical bull. For one, the mechanical side of it is something to die for. It's a unique ride, and it may throw you off, or you may ride the whole entire experience. So it's up to you to hold on.
Whether you like music, drink, food, or even just people watching, it's all a great way to make some memories in New Orleans.
I like to say, people that come here, they usually plan their next trip within weeks. So this is a happening place. New Orleans is known for its food, for its music, for its great time, and lots and lots and lots of great memories.
And while there's plenty of fun to be had in the French Quarter, just be sure to get a couple hours of sleep before going to meetings at the Cattle Industry Convention the next day. I'm Lane Nordlund for NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
NCBA offers some great after-hours entertainment for convention attendees as well. Thursday night is the Mardi Gras Masquerade, featuring music from Paul Bogart. Then on Friday night, don't miss the exclusive Cowboy Concert Series featuring the outstanding country music duo, Big and Rich. Both events are included with your convention registration. You can get all the details at the website ncba.org. Still ahead, it's time for a visit with our good friend Baxter Black. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
At Case IH, we believe it's our job to provide you with solutions. That's why our Farmall and Maxim tractors, as well as our tools and attachments, are designed with you in mind. From mowing to baling to loading and more, we're here to help turn your to-dos into to-dones. At Case IH, we'll keep your days running smoothly with equipment that's durable, versatile, and highly efficient. No wonder farmers are more loyal to Case IH than any other brand. Visit your local dealer or go to caseih.com/livestock for more.
When a new calf hits the ground, his clock starts ticking. A belly full of colostrum gives him his best odds, but if he doesn't get any, his time starts running out. That's when you grab a bag of Oxford Ag Colostrum in their patented feeding system. Fill them with warm water, shake it to mix, feed it with a tube or nipple, and you are done. No bucket, no bottle, no mess, and right on time. Get yours at oxfordag.com. Costs less than a dead calf.
Did you know that Prefert makes over 1,000 different farm, ranch, and rodeo items? And now, thanks to Prefert Direct, it's easier than ever before to get access to every item Prefert makes delivered direct to your local dealer. For more information about Prefert Direct, visit us at Prefert.com. Prefert, America's #1 name in farm, ranch, and rodeo.
The countryside is being checkerboarded by a new wave of settlers identified as rural lifestylers. My friend Michael was typical of those whose motivation was to escape the rat race. He and his sweetheart yearned to move to Texas, buy 40 acres, and own their own tractor. They already had the cap. When the pressure got unbearable, they could take the tractor out for a spin. Tractotherapy, he called it. They could take turns wearing the hat. Well, why didn't you go? I asked him. Oh, he said, the relationship didn't work out. I got a job and she went back to her husband. It occurred to me that there might be lots of folks out there like Michael whose dream is not to go to a dude ranch, but to drive a tractor. Why not start a dude farm? Think of it, a chance to grade a driveway, pull a honey wagon, make mounds in the feedlot. They'd leap at the chance. Farmers could advertise their dude farms in the paper. Pick your own fruit, learn to clean elevator buckets, detassel seed corn, run to town for parts. Try the exotic midwinter North Dakota wheat growers tour. Shovel snow, take her in the shop, go to town for coffee at 8 and 3. Or the scenic Arkansas chicken house extravaganza. Take part in a barn cleaning, fix bent water pipes and fences and ventilation systems, and learn to tell a raccoon, striped tail and mask, from a possum, a hairless tail and about ½ an inch thick on the highway. And the epitome of trips, the Texas to Idaho or bust wheat harvest. Drive a 20-year-old grain truck to the elevator from dawn to dusk for 2 months. Eat dust, bologna and Kentucky fried, sleep in a camp wagon. Sounds exciting? We in agriculture are always looking to diversify. And if you've tried comfrey, ostriches, or your own roadside stand selling homegrown soybean cakes, give dude farming a look. According to Michael, tractotherapy could be the best lucrative opportunity for farmers since that Georgia pecan grower advertised duck hunting on his place. He charged $10 a duck and called it quacktotherapy. He'd give you the tail feathers with the bill. This is Baxter Black from out there.
Thanks, Baxter. Baxter has been a regular attendee of this convention over the years and a longtime supporter of the beef industry. We'll hope to see you again in New Orleans. We'll have more right after this.
Hey everybody, I'm Kevin Kester, President of the National Cattlemen's Beef Association. You know it's a special thing when 10,000 cattlemen and cattlewomen get together to learn, to make connections, and to make the great American cattle industry even better. That's why I'm ready to see you all come to the Big Easy for the biggest and best gathering of cattlemen and cattlewomen from every corner of the USA. You'll see old friends and make some new ones. And you'll love the history, the food, and the fun of the Big Easy. So come on, let's go to New Orleans. You'll find out all you need to know and get registered at the website beefusa.org. And I'll see you there.
You do it because you love it. You do it for your parents, for your kids, and their kids. You do it for the thousands of people you'll never meet. Even if they don't understand what you do or why you do it because you care. And because you care about them, we care about you. Progressive Cattlemen, the beef industry resource.
When it comes to the beef business, there's no room for gray area. The decisions being made in Washington affect the future of the beef industry, the livelihood of your fellow farmers and ranchers. Your National Cattlemen's Beef Association knows there's what benefits cattlemen and there's what doesn't. To us, it's as clear as black and white. Visit joinncba.org to learn more.
Welcome back. Don't forget, you still have time to plan a break from winter and make it to New Orleans to be a part of the amazing, educational, and fun Cattle Industry Convention and NCBA trade show. The value of the convention to anyone involved in the cattle business can't be beat. The convention is set for January 30th through February 1st. As we've said, you can find out all you need to know, register, and get your housing all set at the same time by visiting the website ncba.org. There you'll also find special discounts on things like airfare and rental cars to help you get to, from, and around New Orleans. Well, that wraps up this special edition of NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen. Thanks so much for spending time with us. I hope you'll join me in person in New Orleans. It'll be a trip you'll never forget. And we'll also see you again next week right here on RFD TV.